Welcome to Magny-Cours, the region of France and very much the territory of one Jürgen Müller. My name's Tony Delahunty, alongside me racer extraordinaire, commentator also, David Leslie, on what should be a very interesting World Touring Car Championship third and fourth round.
Yes, they've arrived here in Magny-Cours, and you see them coming out for their warm-up this morning. That's the Chevrolet team as you're looking along, practicing their pit stops. They're pushing the car in, what they're allowed to do when they come in to change tyres if they need to for some reason. And up goes the car, off come the wheels mechanics practicing quick change. It may be that they have to change tyres during the race. The weather's a bit not sure about what's going to happen to it, because it could rain this afternoon for the race, so it's a possibility the cars could be coming in for a quick change.
Well, one man who certainly enjoys racing at Magny-Cours is Jürgen Müller. His first two victories here came during the European Touring Car Championship in 2003, and last season he action replayed it again by claiming the double once more. But one wonders why Magny-Cours is so special to Jürgen Müller. We'll play in from him very shortly.
And that's the BMW Works Snitzer team, and there's Jörg's car. They had a bit of a problem with it in qualifying yesterday with a clutch. They managed to get that fixed. He got out just before the end. There's another of the Müllers. We've got three Müllers in this race. We've got Jörg and Dirk in the BMWs, and you've got Ivan Müller in the Seat car. And Alfa Romeo's this weekend having a really torrid time. They've not been doing well at all. They've qualified well down the grid. 16th is the highest placed of the Alfa Romeo drivers. And I don't know what happened. Overdriving. Two of them ended up on a gravel trap at the end of yesterday. So they certainly did have major problems. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to have them ready and fixed for today.
This very much over the last 3 seasons has been a BMW circuit. Why?
I'm not sure why, to be honest. BMWs make very good starts. We know that because they're rear-wheel drive as opposed to front-wheel drive. But they have done really well when they've arrived at this circuit. The Seats, have to say, were good in Monza, and they're very good here as well. And I think that's going to be a bit more difficult for them. And there you see Alan Menu's car with the mechanics and the engineer standing there. And they're sort of getting ready. They're going to be out in about 20 minutes' time. They'll be on the circuit for the warm-up. But there's two of the Alfa Romeo drivers, Augusto Farfus and Gianni Morbidelli, having a conversation in Italian, obviously, before they go out in the morning.
Going to be a very interesting race for Alfa Romeo. They've got a long way to go. But we'll be finding a bit more about Jürgen Müller in a moment. Well, one can say that Jürgen Müller enjoys racing at Magny-Cours. His first two victories came in the European Touring Car Championship in 2003. And yes, he did. He action replayed doing the double again. Why is it special for him? He says one can say there are some tracks that suit me better than others. I have to admit that I didn't have much weight handicap the last couple of years, but there were others as well. After all, I managed to win. I don't really know what the secret is of my success, but the two very fast chicanes, you really need to attack them and just go for it. If you do so, it's fine. BMW have been dominating the Manufacturers' Championship for the last 6 races. Will it continue? In my opinion, it's 12-15 cars that can win, and it can be any brand. In Monza, 3 different cars on the top 3 start positions, so I don't believe that this is a special BMW track anymore, but I hope that it stays a Jürgen Müller track. The best place in Magny-Cours is the pole position, and it's the place to be. Now I'll go running around the track and have a look if there are any changes, and if the curves are still the same. Here we come from the longest straight in Magny-Cours and into the first hairpin. Here 4 cars can come into it, but often only one comes out. Here is the separation point, and last year it was mostly by intuition that I managed to overtake 2 or 3 cars. This is one of the very special chicanes here in Magny-Cours. I've never seen a chicane as fast as this one anywhere else in the world. When you run around here, you can see that the entrance is blind. So that's why I like to run around the track, find and learn from it. Here's the second real hairpin, and if you brake too late, you get trouble with your car and the others pass you. You have to be very precise about your choice of line. And now we're getting closer to the finish. The last chicane I call who flies highest, because you can really take off and you feel it in your back. But for the car, it's even worse. It makes a lot of noise. I wonder why sometimes they don't fall apart.
5-mal in den letzten 3 Jahren habe ich hier gewonnen.
I won here during the last years, and I hope I can make it this year as well. 6 times is pretty good. It would be marvellous if I could. Well, I don't know about that. David Leslie alongside me. Are you one for running around the track first thing in the morning?
Not usually first thing in the morning, usually the night before, and go around the circuit, have a look and do what he was doing, checking the curbs, checking the corners, and just seeing that nothing's changed from the last time you've been there.
Good results here in Magny-Cours at the third position in today's race. Tell me a little bit about the qualification yesterday. What happened?
Well, my clutch was broken up the first lap in qualifying. That means I had to drive without clutch, which is very difficult in our racing cars because the rear is always locking under braking. And with that reason, I'm very happy with my third position. I know I have a very competitive car. I know the circuit well, so going for the victory today.
Tell me the other victory. You could have a good start with the BMW, huh?
Which other victory? I didn't understand the question.
This BMW could have a good start with the car in the start.
Yeah, but to be true, Seat is doing good starts at the moment as well, so it's not just us. They learned their lessons, and I think they're not worse than us at the start.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's his opinion. He's going to be a busy man, no doubt, today. And we're going to be looking at Jörg Müller and the other drivers and their chances. I'm going to be talking more to David Leslie about warm-up technique in just a few moments. So the weather at the moment, very briefly, David, looks okay there. I see one or two with umbrellas stuck around the corners and whatnot, but it's one or the other they want, really, isn't it? It's either dry or wet.
Yes, and it's very cold this morning, and it looks as though it could rain during the race. But then we have a conversation between Charlie Lamb, the team boss, it's Nitz of the Works BMW team, and Bert Baldwin from Yokohama. And it's remember, the tyres this year on the World Touring cars are all Yokohama tyres. Everyone's on exactly the same tyre. And in the Seat camp there, we've got Ivan Müller. He's looks like he's preparing a sticker, either to go on his suit or his helmet or his car. I'm not sure what, but he's preparing something before he goes out for warm-up.
Well, they're keeping warm with their anoraks on. Well, in qualifying at Magny-Cours, Seat looked very promising after their excellent Monza weekend. Ivan Müller has 65 kgs of ballast due to his 2 second places at Monza and his overall leading position in the standings. But Seat would have to keep an eye out for BMW, and especially Jörg Müller, winner of both Magny-Cours races last year. Not a very good qualifying session for the Alfa Romeo N Technology team. Former Formula 1 driver Gianni Morbidelli had to settle for a disappointing 23rd position on the grid for Sunday's race. Not the best of starts, in fact, for Augusto Farfus. The Brazilian was 22nd fastest. We'll see him in a moment. We can see the crash out there. Farfus will carry 45 kilos of ballast. Not a happy day for him at all yesterday. Well, Salvatore Tavano, same story for him, I'm afraid. He was the fastest of the Alphas, 19th on the day. He also crashed out. Not a happy day at all for Alfa Romeo, and they're way down the grid. Great Britain's Robert Huff. He was 10th fastest in the morning's free practice session, but in the afternoon he had to settle for 15th position in qualifying. Alain Menu did slightly better than his younger teammate. The Swiss clinched 13th position. Menu had finished in race 2 in Monza in 3rd place, his first podium for Chevrolet, and they're still improving and hoping for better results later in the season. The best of the Chevrolet drivers was Italy's Nicola Larini in 11th place. So Menu to carry ballast, but I suppose that he's happy enough having got that place on the podium. Be interesting to see how quickly he can go. Here he dialed in 13th quickest, a time of 1:50.281. Well, let's move on to Andy Priaulx, looking for a 3rd title in succession. He started the season in fine fashion with a victory at Monza. With a heavier car due to weight handicap, he couldn't do better than 9th position in qualifying yesterday, just outside the 150s. There were 5 drivers who got into the 149s. 140-mile-an-hour crash at Monza. Well, that car's got the same engine in it, but it's a new car, new chassis, and he doesn't have to start 10 places back on the grid. He'd have been starting in 19th if he'd had a new engine in. So Andy Priaulx, 9th fastest. The British hopes on him. Alex Zanardi, another Formula 1 and IndyCar champion, finished 7th of the qualifying sessions. Better than last year when he was 14th on the same circuit, but again outside the 149s. Hearing more about Alex Zanardi and the adapted method of his driving a little bit later. Disappointment for Dirk Müller, was probably expected to do better than 6th position. The German finished 2nd in last year's race in Magny-Cours. He has been a winner at Magny-Cours as well, in that domination of those 6 victories at Magny-Cours for BMW over the last 3 seasons, during which, of course, the European Touring Car Championship, the title of the FIA, has taken it to the World Touring Car Championship. Jörg Müller, though, the king of Magny-Cours, they call him, is certainly hoping for pole position. He didn't get it. Winner of last year's 2 races and fastest of the qualifying session. He finished with the 3rd quickest time, pipped right at the last minute by Ricard Rydell. Last few seconds of qualifying, it was Rydell that made it an all-Seat front row. Müller will be hoping to go well here. Got to carry 65 kgs of weight, could make a big difference to the situation. That's Ivan Müller having to carry the 65 rather. Jörg, of course, has none, and that's to his advantage. Let's move on to Ivan Müller. Got that 65 kgs. Couldn't have really hoped for the greatest of qualifying positions. He's the only Frenchman in the championship at Magny-Cours. Finished 12th. He said he was disappointed with the way that he had driven in the qualifying session. We'll be looking in a moment at Jourdain Genet, who last year was 9th fastest in qualifying, and certainly there he is, improved. He grabbed an excellent 4th position, so the sea of Seats with an island of a BMW in the middle of it all, and that was the 3rd fastest Jörg Müller. In fact, you've got Tarquini, Rydell, then Müller, then Genet, and then Terting before you get Dirk Müller with the next BMW. So 4 Seats in the top 6. There's Ricard Rydell. Good performance from him. Flew into second spot right at the end of the session. Winner of a race at Silverstone last year. And he'll be on the front row of the grid here at Magny-Cours. Second fastest in the qualifying session. First to fifth fastest, all in 149s. Tarquini's time, the fastest 149.306. Pole position for the Seat team. In fact, if you look at that front row, I was remarking to David Leslie, who we'll hear from in a moment, that two of the oldest men in the championship. Shows you can't beat two wise heads, and Tarquini and Rydell, super stuff. They've got that front row, and there is a very happy Tarquini. So Tarquini at the top of the pile, Rydell, Muller, the BMW in there, then 2 more Seats, and then Dirk Muller. 0.721 of a second separates the top 6. Zanardi in there at 7. Tom Coronel, first of the independents up there. Then Andy Prio, British Hopes, wanting a 3rd championship. There's Tarquini's car. Tarquini, the man who nailed it for pole position. Well, there he is. Well, he's got good reason to be happy. Doesn't show it too much there. A bit of an event. We'll maybe hear more from Gabriel Tarquini in a moment or 3. But, I think he'll fancy his chances here. Been BMW dominated for the last 3 years. Let's hear from Tarquini now.
Tarquini, you're in pole position today. It's not the only positive thing that's been happening this week. Tell me about how you experienced this week and this qualification.
It was a fantastic week because I became father for the 2nd time from Matteo, and after the pole position, my first one with the Seat. 2 Seat in the front row, so I think it was a really fantastic Saturday.
You know that BMW has been dominating here in Magny-Cours for many years now. Will we witness a Seat domination now?
In qualifying, yes, but in the race will be a different thing, I think, because I think Jorg and BMW, it's the car to beat in race. They are very strong, very consistent. They won 4 on the last 6 races, so it's the car to beat, but we are there. I'm on the best place to beat him.
So your tactic is to stay in front of Jörg Müller for the first lap, 2 laps, and just keep him behind you, just finish the start?
Yeah, this is my plan, but it's an easy plan on the paper, but it will be different on the track later on.
Thank you very much.
Well, always genial, and with new baby Matteo, didn't say what Matteo's weight was, but he'll be carrying 30 kgs. Getting closer to the time of the start of the warm-up. And we'll be covering all of that and the races later today. Well, they'll be coming out very, very shortly indeed. But we're going to focus in a couple of minutes on Alessandro Zanardi and his way of driving, a very special method of driving for him. We'll go through that in a moment or 2. The Italian driver had both his legs amputated after an accident in 2001. He's had to adapt his racing car to his handicap, but also to the problem that he has with the artificial legs. But we'll hear more about Alessandro Zanardi in just a second. Let's hear from him himself on how he gets around the problem.
Alexander Zanardi, here we are in Magny-Cours. BMW has a great success here in present years. You're in 7th place today. What do you think about the BMW's chances here?
Well, I believe in relationship to the cars that qualify with a similar speed of us, I believe we're definitely going to have an advantage in the race, in the distance. But quite frankly, my competitor Gabriele had done a brilliant job yesterday in the Seat, and he will probably be able to conserve a little edge in race 1. For race 2 is always a question mark.
Thank you very much.
Well, Zanardi, 7th fastest in qualifying, 150.043. So not that far away from getting into the 59s. He's the 3rd quickest of the BMWs. Well, as promised, we can focus on the way he drives. He lost both his legs in 2001, and the way he has to drive, he can tell us more about now.
I can rotate clockwise or anti-clockwise the knee joint. That means that my knee joint will basically translate and turn on a different angle. But for what it concerns what I do in the race car, of course the knee joint needs to be basically perfectly aligned to the movement that I do with my hip pressing down my leg. Now I'm going to show you what I can do, basically unveiling my mechanical joint. Basically I can adjust things around. Now I'm gonna tighten it again so I don't lose my foot. Again.
What about the adaptation of the car to Zanardi's handicap? Let's start with the brakes.
The main difference is only basically that at the end of the brake pedal, as you can see, I've got this sort of a second shoe. And basically what I do, I put my prosthetical foot inside here. Just by pressing down with my hip, I brake. Ironically, strength is not a problem at all for me. I can put enough pressure. Maybe the problem is more to modulate this amount of pressure as I'm approaching the turn, where I start to steer, and then it's time to reduce the amount of pressure, otherwise I would lock the wheels.
To accelerate, Zanardi is using now a mechanical system and not an electronical one. The change happened in Oschersleben last year, and he won the race.
My steering wheel is inside. By pulling this ring, I operate this mechanism, and I basically push this second mechanism, which pulls this little wire. This wire, this cable, is linked to the butterfly on the top of the engine, so it's absolutely direct. This little bearing allows me to turn the wheel and to operate the throttle independently.
To switch gears, Zanardi only needs to use the clutch with this small button from neutral to first, and in action, no need to use the clutch.
I am a pioneer because there are no drivers before me prior to my venue that had to go and analyze the problems that I have to solve daily. There are situations where it's not just difficult, it is basically impossible to do exactly what normal drivers are doing. But after all, if my performance have been quite good, it really means that on an average point of view, I can basically do what other drivers do.
And he certainly can do what an awful lot of men wouldn't be able to do. What a man. Okay, live here at Magny-Cours. David Leslie alongside me. My name's Tony Delahunty. The important names just starting to come out for the warm-up. Essential things in warm-up. I mean, people have had a few problems yesterday. They'll be trying to see if they've got those sort of things sorted. Different mindsets. Alfa Romeo mindset. Goodness gracious knows what that might be. But we'll be talking with David in just a second and get his full view on the whole situation. Well, there we are. And there is Müller, one of 3 of them. And he's out. He's been out for about half a minute or so, and now Ivan Müller, the leader of the championship, 2 wins, so 65 kilos of weight to carry. But I was asking David Leslie, who was about to answer just before we went to the break, the sort of mindsets that different teams will use in different ways on this. Alfa Romeo will be looking distinctly for some improvements. Seat probably quite happy. And BMW, particularly perhaps Jürgen Müller, looking for just maybe that little bit more.
Yes, Jürgen, well, he knows he's really quite close to it, but on board now with Ivan Muller. He went well yesterday. He was quite happy with what happened. Remember, he was carrying that 65 kilos of ballast, so to be less than 1 second away from pole position, which he is, he's only 0.9 of a second in 12th place. It might not sound terribly good being in 12th place for the number 12 car, but believe me, he is still right there with everybody else. And that's how close this championship is.
When will they carry that 65 kilos away? As low as they can, passenger side?
They don't have a choice in actual fact, because of the rules and regulations for the World Touring Car Championship. It has to fit into a particular box, and the box is sitting in the passenger side of the car. So where the passenger would normally sit on the floor there's a big box that they can bolt that lead into in order to ballast the car up. So it's the same for everybody.
And we are on board at the moment with Ivan Muller, so we're with the man who leads the championship, but it's the other Seat drivers, obviously, with he carrying that amount of weight that would be expected to carry the flag. What sort of position, in the mindset of Ivan Muller, would he be happy to get to?
For the race situation, he wants to be on the front, he wants to be on a podium, so that's what he'll be aiming for. Today in warm-up, they'll be going out there and just trying to make sure the car does exactly what they want. There's no problems with the brakes, everything is just perfect. They get the car to turn in, and you know, they're just making a systems check to make sure everything's okay before the race. It's a fairly short warm-up, they've only got 15 minutes, so they'll spend most of their time out there on the circuit. One or two of them may come in for a very small adjustment, but most of them will stay out there. And it's only the Alfa Romeos really where two of their three cars actually went off into the gravel trap and did some damage, that really have probably got a lot of work to do this morning. But we see the Chevrolet of Nicola Larini,
who was the fastest,
fastest of the Chevrolet.
Yeah, fastest of the Chevrolet. Obviously,
and,
he not carrying weight where Alain Menu was.
That's right. So I spoke to their team manager last night, and they were very happy with where they were. So.
Do you see them, you know, challenging for regular podiums nearer to the end of the season? Do you think that's possible?
Yes, they're working hard all the time. They were a brand new team into the championship last year, and they found it very difficult to start with, but the Ray Malika run team has certainly been improving, and starting the season with a podium finish at Monza at the last round really did buoy them very much. So they're looking forward to some very good results. And they know that they're just there, they're just knocking on the door, they're not far away from being constant front runners.
Well, our viewers will remember from yesterday, and if they weren't with us yesterday, whoever wasn't should have been, but you were saying if you had your choice in being in this race, yesterday you said it would still be BMW, you'd want to be in a BMW because they've won the last 6, etc, 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 and Jürgen Muller, with the number of times he's won on this circuit, 4 or 5 I think he's won, but 4 in the last 3 years. But yesterday it still dominated. Would you change your drive today?
Well, you heard Gabriele Tarquini say that yes, he had a quick lap, yes, he's on pole position, but he still fears the BMWs. And there we see Costa with a BMW, quickest at the moment at 1:54, and with Rob Huff the Chevrolet, Farfus with the Alfa Romeo going a lot better. Then you got Dirk Muller up in 4th place. So what happens is that people are going out and they're trying different things. They're not necessarily going to try and be the fastest person on the circuit any time. They just need to know everything's right about the car. Nicola Larini, he looks as though he's not happy with his car at the moment. He's giving it a little shake and a wobble just to feel there's something right or wrong with it. And he is going quite slow out there.
Well, we're going to take the briefest of breaks and then catch up with the rest of the session. Well, if you've just joined us, good morning. This is Magny-Cours, and this is the warm-up, and we've got the first of the early times coming in, and it's in the warm-up. It's well, it's looking more like it has been of previous years. BMW from BMW. It's Dirk Muller, car number 43, who's showing the quickest at the moment, and Dirk. His time is just, what is that, 1:50.771, so perhaps not expecting it to be of a similar time of yesterday. And Jürgen Muller actually just a little slower at the moment. He's on 150.831. I was thinking, David, yesterday when Rydell, right at the last minute, snatched the other position, the other Seat position on that front row. That could be very critical, couldn't it, right at the beginning of the race, because the BMW then was forced onto the second row of Jörg Müller, and they're very, very quick at the start of BMWs, but with two Seats ahead of it, could that make a difference?
Yes, the two Seats I'm sure will work together to try and keep the BMWs behind, but that's very difficult off the start line. As we know from previous experience, the rear-wheel drive cars just start that little bit quicker off the line. But you can see now these guys all in what we call race mode, i.e. everything's set for the longer distance to try and get the best lap times over the whole race rather than just over one lap. So some of the settings will be slightly different for the race than will be for qualifying. And in this scenario,
fastest now 22nd whatever yesterday, now showing 7th fastest at the moment. Do you think that may be that they've got something sorted of what they want? And looking up there, you can see Robert Huff, British driver, 5th fastest at the moment with the Chevrolet.
Yes, but I think with the BMWs, there's certainly more akin to a race situation, and that's what Gabriele Tauquini said yesterday. It really does feel these BMWs in a race situation. So while the Seats have the front row, they're going to find it very difficult to keep those BMWs behind, certainly throughout the race distance.
So I can't tempt you with a Seat drive today then, still BMW for Leslie?
I think that's where I started yesterday, and I'll stick to that one at the moment.
Well, maybe you or he or whatever will agree at the end of the day. We'll see that if David Leslie is correct. He says he still thinks it's going to be a BMW that will win the race today. Well, Seat will certainly have their say. They've got the all front row, Tarquini and Rydell, with a community. If you add the two together, that gives you an age of about 83 or 84. So divided by 2 shows you some of the old boys are there.
I think it's experience. That's what Richard Rydell said. It's the experience in the Seat team, because that's what the Seat team have got. They've got the experienced guys and they've got the young guys. They really have a big cross section. But oh, here we go. Back across that.
Well, it's familiar territory for the Alfa Romeos, isn't it, Magny-Cours?
It is, and this is Tavano again. He was across there yesterday, so he's not doing very well at all. So Monica Sims from the Alfa Romeo team will be very unhappy indeed that her guys are not actually staying on the circuit. A bit happy with this guy, Angastu Farfus, because he's going a bit better this morning, and that's the third of the Alfa Romeos, Morbidelli.
Let's hear from her.
Monica Sims, in Monza you had the victory with Farfus. Here in Magny-Cours it seems to be a little bit more difficult for the Alfa Romeos, huh?
It's very difficult, but also in the past Magny-Cours it's not our favorite track. For sure, yesterday we had very big problems. We are trying to solve, but it's not easy. We didn't find the best setup between the car, the drivers and the tires. That was our big problem. This morning we are trying our other solution in order to try to have our race today and to make a balance in this weekend. Very different, very difficult.
Why do you have problem finding the right tires? Is it because of the temperature or what is it?
Yes, was temperature problems, also the weather, the asphalt, and also that the car can't warm the tires, and that was our biggest problem yesterday. We will see today. The race, it's another thing.
Thank you.
Well, it's giving a brave face anyway, but the driver's doing rather better, though. Farfus has dropped down to 8th fastest at the moment, and agricultural was the direction that we last saw of Tavano, who's now dropped down to 18th quickest. And on the top of our warm-up board there, still the two BMWs, Dirk Müller and Jörg Müller. Dirk Müller has won on this circuit. Don't need to keep on saying that Jörg Müller, they're calling him the king of Magny-Cours. Farfus his car being taken back into the well, he's in the pits already. It's going back into the pit garage at the moment. They're just reversing it there, that you can see. So they probably think that they've done enough. And the other car that has just come in, Ivan Muller, who leads the championship. James Thompson out on the circuit, and James, of course, started reasonably well in the championship. Former BT champion. He's in 5th equal place at the moment with 6 points. He's got to carry 20 kg, so 20 kilos there to to James Thompson to carry, and at the moment he's just sort of circulating quite slowly. 150.213 was his qualifying time. So James Thompson qualified 10th, so he'll start on the 5th row of the grid. And there's Müller's car, Ivan Müller, having a look at something at the front there. I don't, maybe having a word with him. I don't, maybe just checking. And there's Zanardi. We heard from him before. Alessandro Zanardi, remarkable man, remarkable race driver. Dirk Müller heading in, I think, at the moment. I'm just trying to get maybe just a little bit of extra heat into the tyres.
The tyres are a major problem this time of the morning because it really is quite cold there. And that was the problem with Alfa Romeo, to try and get heat into the tyres yesterday. So no doubt they've done things like put a bit more camber on, or a bit more toe in or toe out on the tyres in order to try and generate heat in the tyres. So the tyres work better when they're really warm, and the warmer they are, the sort of stickier they are, the more grip you've got. Alfa Romeo were obviously struggling to get that heat in there. We heard Monica Sipser earlier, so we can just assume that they've done a lot of work on the setup of the car to try and generate some more heat, and certainly that seems to be working for them.
Andy Prio's just moved up to fourth fastest there. So, and in fact, you've now got of the top 6 out in the warm-up. In fact, 5 of them are BMWs, and the only Seat in there at the moment is for the young German Terting, who's showing in 3rd fastest. Andy Prio's moved up to 4th quickest. Das, the privateer, up 5th fastest. Zanardi's 6th fastest. Tom Coronel is up there as well. He was the fastest of the independents in qualifying. He's being bested by Das at the moment, but BMW's starting to. This is going to be intriguing today, isn't it? I mean, I can't wait for the first race. I really can't. I think it's going to be. I mean, after the BMW dominance, and then the way that Seat and Alfa dumped BMW to 3rd in the Manufacturers' Championship, not one BMW in the top 10 in the 2nd race at Monza. They've got something to do now, haven't they? BMW are probably smarting from that.
Yes, I'm sure they felt it, and were unhappy with the way it finished at Monza, and they've come out here saying, you know, we need to do very well. And look, and there, only Peter Terting with that Seat, and the rest are all BMWs. Stefan Diasti, you know, he's a privateer BMW, and he's right up there with them. He's the first of the privateer guys, but not far behind him is Tom Coronel with the Seat Toledo, which is the old of the Seat cars, and he's in 7th place.
David, how much does is there psychology involved in this? How much, but looking at that now, do BMW gain or Seat lose when they look at the warm-up times, or is it all sort of regarded as that it's after the Lord's Mayor show and the qualifying is what really matters?
The qualifying is what matters, because that's where you end up on the grid. And you've seen Tarquini there, 17th fastest this morning. He's gone out there, all he's done is made sure the car works and everything's okay. He's not gone out to try and put in a Banzai lap or do something really special. He's just really happy with what he's got for a car, and he knows that he'll do that something special when it comes to the race.
Well, don't forget, we'll have both of these races. Absolutely mouth-watering stuff. Will it be a BMW? Will it be Seat? Can Alfa Romeo suddenly come back into this? Or will Chevrolet show like they did and reach the podium? It's going to be absolutely riveting. Join me, Tony Delahunty, and the man himself, David Leslie, later today for more of this.
Qui a donc amélioré dans le dernier tour, 1 minute 51 secondes et 200